I mean, I love a good Christmas film, and I was so happy to see this, especially because it has a fresh new take on the Christmas story. Should we say it's an origin story? Um, and one we haven't seen before. What was it about Matt Haig's story that really drew you in?
A few things. One is it was my first introduction to the world of Matt Haig. And as many readers around the world have discovered, Matt has an honesty about the human experience, not just the bright and joyous parts of human existence, but also the bass notes that, as we all know, inform a lot of our lives and also make the brighter, joyous moments feel that much happier and more special and meaningful. And so I was really moved when I read his novel For a Boy Called Christmas, and then the first adaptation of the novel into a screenplay. And I was struck by how, while writing something that was so alive and full of spirit of adventure, all the things that I love in film, he was also able to capture a more direct and human approach to a young person growing up in the world and making their own way through it. And that felt like a really clear line. I fell in love with Nicholas as a character. I felt like I had to see him on a screen. And I also just saw a connection to myself as a young person and remembering that there were films, every once in a while, there were films that felt like they punctured through the veneer of, the trappings of what makes a film and showed me something that felt relatable on a real level. And I felt like there was an opportunity with this to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not actually familiar. I don't think I'm the right audience for that book. But for those who aren't familiar, have you kept quite faithful to the original story?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the book, and I've really counted my collaboration with Matt on this to be one of my happiest creative experiences. Like, we've become friends in addition to me being the steward of this story to the screen. There were a few notable additions that I've made. There is a central through line that connects Nicholas to his journey to Elfhelm. A couple of those ideas were very text-based or more ephemeral in the novel, and I wanted to give a more visual connection for the audience. So without spoiling too much, there are certain elements that are very visual that didn't exist in the book that don't feel like they take away or change core aspects. They just turn something into cinema in a way that is necessary. There is a major change from the book, again, which is just a way of better embracing the spirit of Matt's storytelling, which is the modern framing story. So the character played by Dame Maggie Smith and the young modern audience that are hearing this story begrudgingly at first, that is a modern, or that is an addition to the story. But because so much of the spirit of Matt's book is not just the transformative power of hope and of sort of finding a spark within yourself against extraordinary external forces, there's also a theme of the power of storytelling, that stories themselves can change lives. And so this felt like actually like a natural way to develop that theme.
Okay. Yeah, and obviously you've got a background sort of that in horror, basically with Poltergeist and Scream, for example. What was your pitch for a Christmas movie? Why did you want to do a Christmas movie?
Oh, I told them that it was time to show the true horror of the holiday to families around the world. No, look, I've always prided myself for my first film, Monster House, and on through City of Ember, and as you said, with Poltergeist, and to a large extent with Ghostbusters Afterlife as well. That my way into stories is to capture the same sense of awe and wonder that I felt in movie theaters growing up. The feeling that a film projecting on a screen or playing in front of me in a room was a window into a world that I could imagine myself in. And those are stories that don't exist as much in movies as I would like. I've sort of made it my calling to try to give family audiences and kids and adults who still have a connection to the wonder inside of them to have the sort of film experience that I really pine for, which is that sort of all-encompassing genre breaking idea that you can get a real full adventure in a movie.
Yeah, definitely. And you've also in the film you use obviously some CGI with Blitzen and Mika the mouse as well. Did that bring about any kind of challenges for you?
Well, I started out in animation actually. So before I made Monster House, which is an animated film for all intents and purposes, I got my degree in film school in animation, and actually bringing characters to life feels to me like it's the same task whether you're dealing with clay or pixels or human beings. You're imagining what the end product will be, what the experience for the audience will be, and the tools that you use to get there obviously are different whether you're working with animators or a human actor, but the end goal is the same. So I loved bringing Blitzen and Mika to life, and the troll, several other characters, because it felt to me like exactly the kind of story I like to tell, which is one that isn't something you could just point a camera at and show, something that requires some world building, some universe imagining. And I'm very, very proud of the character of Mika and Blitzen. I have a lot of love for them.
Yeah. You've brought together such an amazing cast as well. I mean, obviously you've mentioned Maggie Smith, we've got Jim Broadbent, Toby Jones, Sally Hawkins, so many names. I mean, how did you manage to get the whole lot into agreeing to do the film?
I ask very nicely. I say please at the end of every request. I am really lucky, basically. I feel like the material Matt's writing and the idea of doing something that is positive appealed, I know, to everyone in the really crazy list that you just read out, which is still shocking for me to hear out loud. And I think that there was just good timing. And all I can say is that I've learned from experience that the greatest battle that you can fight as a director is for cast. Once you make the casting on a film, there are a lot of other things you can do to improve or to destroy the film, but you've cast your largest lot with the casting. And so I know now and have known that is where to put the energy.
Okay. A little fun question here. When it comes to Christmas movies, what's your go-to movie to get you into the festive spirit?
Well, there's a couple of them. I love A Christmas Story. Speaking of horror, Bob Clark, who's an amazing director who made God, was it Black Friday? I'll look it up. I'll look it up while we're talking. Anyway, A Christmas Story is an amazing American film, which is less known here. I highly recommend looking it up if you haven't seen it, because it's an absolute stone cold American film classic. Sorry, his other horror film is Black Christmas. So he made A Christmas Story and Black Christmas, and Black Christmas is an amazing Christmas movie for a very different genre. Has some incredible point of view camera work of a killer climbing up the side of a building on the trellis, and the 35mm camera was attached to an actor's shoulder, basically. So you've got some incredible footage in there. And then I have to name check A Nightmare Before Christmas, because that was an experience when I saw that in the cinema, that it felt like there was a new way to show the holiday that's been so taken for granted. And I very much was inspired by the way that film broke ground in terms of representation.
Mm-hmm. And finally, I just want to say I absolutely loved Ghostbusters as well when I saw it. It's
amazing.
Everything I wanted. So any chance of a sequel?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you and all of your friends go see it again in the cinema,
Yeah.
then I think we have a shot. So Jason and I have lots more stories to tell. And we're really excited to keep working with these characters who we've now fallen in love with. So I think as long as we get a good turnout, there's a chance.
I'm going to get everyone I know involved.
I'm so happy to hear that. It's really nice to see you twice in a week.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.